Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Restore to Explore, working on the HZ Kingswood. Today we are going to be focusing on getting this car running right. Now, it hasn't been running well. We've done all of the things that you need to do to start off with. So we've set the timing, we've checked spark, we've done all that kind of stuff, and everything's pointing to the carburetor, which is a refurbished carburetor, but I've actually had to pull it apart once before because it was actually put together incorrectly, and now it's actually leaking, and it seems like it's got some other issues as well. So today we're going to tear into that and see if we can't get this car idling nice and smoothly. We've also got some work to do on making an exhaust for it, so we're going to check that out as well and tidy up a couple of other things. So let's get into it. Alright, so I've just pulled the carby apart and you'll see kind of this orangey staining. That's what we call varnishing. So that happens when fuel gets really old, and as soon as I pull the fuel line off, I actually smelt it straight away. It's got this really varnish smell to it that you get with old fuel. Now, the fuel in here isn't actually that old. I put a 20-litre Jerry of 98 in here, now thinking about it, probably over a year ago. But yeah, it's gone off, and there's a bunch of gunk inside that carby, so hopefully that's our problem. And then I've just pulled off the glass bowl for the fuel pump, which I only put together a couple of months ago, and underneath the strainer there's a bunch of almost sand, flaky bits. So there's obviously some contaminants in the tank. Now, this is a tank that I repaired and put back into this car and did give it a good flush at the time, but obviously there's still some crud in that tank. So I'm going to go ahead, drop the fuel tank out, give it a good rinse with some methanol. So it's a super high octane race fuel that I've got lying around. So I'm going to flush out the tank with that, put it all together, replace the last of the old lines which are left, clean out the carby, put it back together, chuck some brand new fuel in, and hopefully that sorts out our carburetor issues. Pretty clear that that's going to be one of the sources of our problems, and I've just had a look through the fuel sender and there's a lot of crud in there since we last cleaned it out. So going to flush it out with some methanol, put it all back together. Hopefully that solves our fuel problems. Alright, so a couple of other things that I'm doing while the tank's out. I'm actually going to be dropping the diff out and changing all of the rear bushes. They're the last bushes in the car that I haven't changed, so I'm going to be changing those. I'm also going to be changing all of the handbrake pads and the pistons for the rear brakes as well. And then while I've got all that out and while the exhaust's out, I'm going to take that opportunity to sand down all of underneath the car. I've just picked up some subframe black, so I'm going to mask the whole outside of the car and bring some drop sheets down around the hoist and spray all of the underbody so that the whole car looks as good as it does on the outside. We can get rid of all this surface rust and dirt and mud from the last 40 years under here. So going to get stuck into that. I only want to have this on the hoist for a couple of days, so let's do it. so I'm about to start painting, but I just went to the tire shop and picked up these bad boys. Check it out. Got the dragways on the car, and how much has that changed the look of the car? It looks so good now. Really starting to see this thing come together with some of these finishing touches. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these back off because I need to mask up the whole car before we start painting the underbody, so that's gonna take a while. But just wanted to see what these look like. So stoked with these wheels. That was a monster effort, but check it out under here. Looks brand new. So the stuff I sprayed is like a tar-based paint. So it was coming out of the gun a lot different to what I'm used to. I think I should have used a bigger tip. I used the 1.4, and I think I should have gone up to about a 1.8 or a 2. But anyway, another lesson for next time. But it's come out so good. The coverage was really, really good. It's stuck really well, and it's left a really nice matte textured finish, so it doesn't show up any of the imperfections that you obviously get underneath here. And I'm super happy with how it turned out. So I'm just going to wait until it goes off a little bit harder before I take off all the masking, but then we can drop it down and see how it all looks. Alright, we're finally all done underneath the car. I've just gotten the exhaust back in and a couple of the other bits, got the handbrake cables back in. And I'm still waiting for some of the fuel tank parts to put that in, so that's going to have to be for next time. But the paint that we put on under here, it's dried really, really well. It's got a nice satin finish, and the car looks like it should. It matches the rest of it now, so I'm super stoked with that. That's all for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. We're going to be putting the finishing touches on this car and getting it registered, getting it on the road. So that's all coming up. Subscribe to the channel and check out the rest of the build videos so you can see how far we've come. Cheers.